Well, praise the Lord, hallelujah, and thank you, Jesus. Well, it's around that time right here on KAZ Radio, where I got one of my most favorite shows, none other than Christian Networking Entrepreneurs with my friend and yours, Pastor T. How you doing, Pastor T?
I am blessed by the best. Thank you for having us here on KAZ Radio. So today we're here on Christian Networking Entrepreneurs. For you guys that don't know, Christian Networking Entrepreneurs is for emerging entrepreneurs, small business owners, and community leaders. We give you a platform to showcase your business, and we also have a quarterly networking event where you can come and network and meet other Christian believers as well. So thank you guys for tuning in, and always know if you don't network, you don't work. So today we're here to network with two very interesting guests. I have Hines and I also have Charles. So Hines and Charles is insurance brokers. And you probably heard me say this before on my show. For African American people, please listen, tune in, get closer. For African American people, GoFundMe is not an insurance policy. So we need to have insurance policies for when our people leave. So just put a pin in that right now. We're going to introduce our guests. First, I'm going to introduce Hines. Hi, Hines. Welcome to the show.
Hi. How are you doing, Pastor T?
I'm doing great. Tell our viewing audience a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. Well, I've been in the insurance business for about 12, 13 years. We started Pathfinder about 3 or 4 years ago, and it's just been a great opportunity for us to serve our community. And we deal a lot with small businesses, service-based businesses, and that's kind of the insurance side. Personally, I'm a Cleveland native. We moved here from Hong Kong in 1985, and basically I've been a Clevelander ever since, just here on the east side of Cleveland.
So from Hong Kong, tell us about your journey from Hong Kong into business and all of that stuff.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So, our family came here, and much like a lot of immigrant families, we opened up a restaurant, Otani's, that's over in Mayfield Heights there in Golden Gate. And from there, we started doing small businesses and growing from there. And one of the things that I felt that we needed more of was more of a representation kind of in insurance and in financial industries,
Okay.
Especially for immigrants, I think I felt like we were in some situations maybe not getting the most upfront ethical treatment.
Okay.
And really giving it getting into that business myself gave me an opportunity to kind of make sure that I was taking care of other immigrants and other kind of minorities that needed a voice.
All right. So with that being said, coming up from Hong Kong, how old were you when you came here?
I was 8 years old.
You was 8 years old. So you got some memories of Hong Kong.
Oh, absolutely. We go back all the time.
You guys did. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then coming here, so your family opened up business instantly, or you came in and lived with other family members? How did that
basically, we started off right away.
Okay.
Yeah, we did. We started off right away and got the restaurant going, and it was a very interesting and as with all small businesses, a very interesting and fun journey. And I'm glad we did that, and it really gave us a very specialized, I think, outlook. Yeah, I think
for sure.
Yeah.
Entrepreneurship, and then being in entrepreneurship as a young age, that makes you a little more apt or a little more built to be able to have the endurance to go through the hurdles that entrepreneurs go through.
Yes.
So me, my story is my parents were hardworking. My mom was a homemaker, but at that time she was really an entrepreneur, but we just called them hustlers back then, right? So my mother was a hustler. So my mother being a hustler, she sold everything from Mary Kay to weed. Okay,
yes.
So she sold the whole. My dad was a hard worker, so I grew up with two hard working hustlers, right? And then that placed the entrepreneur spirit inside of me. And a lot of people that go from corporate jobs, they don't see that because it's a whole different mindset.
Absolutely.
Speak about the mindset of an entrepreneur.
Oh, wow. That's a kind of what you were saying. Really, there wasn't a job that was too small for us. There wasn't an opportunity that we weren't willing to claw for and grind and get. And especially in the restaurant business, one day you're working the line, and the next day you're washing dishes, or maybe the same hour. 1 minute you're working the line, next thing you're cleaning out grease traps. So there isn't a sense of like that job is, is beneath me. Everything is an opportunity. Everything is a situation where you got to go out there and grind and hustle and stuff like that. So I think you're very right in the sense that the entrepreneurial spirit really teaches you that there's nothing beneath you.
Nothing.
Yeah.
You gotta do it all. You gotta do it all. So Pastor Charles, tell us your journey in entrepreneurs, because I know you was a corporate man working in the office with your name on the desk, and now you're doing the entrepreneur thing. Tell us all about that.
Right. So I actually started some years ago. So I started about 14 years ago. I was in retail.
Okay.
So I was in retail and I was working all kinds of hours, the Christmas shifts and things like that. And I wanted to get in finances. And so that was just my heart. As a little kid, I would dress up and put my tie on. I'm saying, listen, I want a shirt and tie. I want a job like that one day.
Right.
And so I went to Hondros. I took some courses. I ended up going into mortgages.
Okay.
And so I did mortgages, bought and flip houses and things like that. And then I end up experiencing the crash like everybody else did.
Right.
And I end up going into banking. And so with banking, I had to get licensed.
Yeah.
So I got licensed with my Series 6. I got licensed with my life and health, and pursued that. And it opened up a whole different mindset for me at that particular time. And then I was in the inner city. And I had that mentality to where I didn't really understand money.
Okay.
Right? So I didn't understand money because that's just something that we don't talk about at our dining room table.
Right.
And even in school. So that's something that we go to school and they really don't teach us. But as we get older, we understand that we need to know about taxes, we need to know about finances, we need to know about insurances and things like that. And so it was a passion for me. It was almost like I tell people, I said, for 14 years I was in corporate America, but I was going to school.
Amen.
Right? I was going to school because I was learning a lot of things that I didn't know. I didn't know about mutual funds or 401ks or stocks or bonds or anything like that. And so it was definitely a learning curve for me. And so as I strived in those areas, I end up having an attraction to business.
Okay.
And so I had an attraction to business probably about 7 years ago. And my boss saw that and he said, well, you need to go into the small business specialist role. And I'm like, I don't want to do that. You know what I mean? Because it's almost like you got additional responsibilities, but, the pay scale is the same.
Right.
So I'm like, no, I'm okay. So he came to me again. I said, okay, let me shoot at it. And so what I started learning is a shift of mindset again.
Yeah.
I started entering the mindset of an entrepreneur because those were my clients.
Right.
I was face to face with them all the time, and I understood from a ownership standpoint the struggles, because as I'm in the office and I'm talking to the business owner, I'm learning a ton. I'm learning like, you know what, I got to get this loan so you guys can have a job.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because I'm consolidating a lot of debt. And I always say I was like the Jerry Maguire. That's like one of my favorite movies.
Okay.
I was behind the
money.
scenes. I was behind the scenes and nobody knew everything that I did.
Okay.
And even some of the things that I've able to assist with within the community, as far as projects and things like that. And it's funny with the story with me and Hines is I was his banker.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Let us in.
I was his banker, and we developed a strong relationship. And I was in the process of shifting into entrepreneurship, and it was daunting. It was tough, because it was a different mindset. It was a different shift. It was an adjustment of things that I was doing, personally, as well as an adjustment mentally. And I began to share things with him, and he was like, hey, you know what? I can make it easy.
All right.
And it was almost like it was too easy. Right?
Like, wait a minute, where
but
the struggle?
Here's the spiritual side of it, right? The Bible says the blessings of God make us rich and add of no sorrow. And so I was struggling trying to do this thing on my own, and it's like I reached out to him several times. It's like, it hasn't changed. It's the same, and so I have a passion for insurance. A personal story is my mom passed, and unfortunately, she didn't have that. And so, and that was almost 10 years ago. And experiencing that whole GoFundMe or gathering the family, trying to, it's a passion of mine, and that's kind of what pushes me here today, to be able to come into entrepreneurship and develop, services for clients that I wish my mom had at that time.
Amen. But that's real, Pastor Charles. That is so real because you see it so often.
Absolutely.
And being in the church, my husband does a lot of funerals, and we see it on a monthly basis.
Right.
That somebody has passed away. They didn't have the proper insurance.
Right.
They didn't have their ducks in a row to make it easy for their family. And I remember when my father passed away, he had went to the hospital, and I came to his house. He had everything laying on the table. To me, it was almost like he knew that he wasn't coming back.
Wow.
So we went to the hospital. He was in the hospital for like 2 weeks. I came home. I was going through everything. Boom, there go his will. There go his insurance papers. There go this. Everything was already sitting on a table in a folder. So that let me know that, people kind of know when they're about to transition, right?
Absolutely.
So to some degree, unless it's an accident or, something tragic. But, he was 77 years old, had a good life. So let's talk about life insurance first, if that's okay. It's y'all show. So what y'all want to talk about first?
I think when it comes to and I think Heinz can attest to this. We're consultants.
Okay.
So we could say we're life insurance consultants. We're here to educate people.
Absolutely.
To educate people. When you think about insurance, you can't think about just burial, right? You have to actually think, what position are you in the family? Mm-hmm. Are you the provider? Are you the breadwinner? Now, if something happens to you, what happens to the home? What happens to the household? What happens to the finances? That's pretty much how you would assess how much money you need, because people always say, so of course, if we're spreading risk, if you're older, if you're not healthy, then of course what's going to happen? You're going to pay more for insurance.
Right.
So it's important to get insurance early. When, we think that we live forever, right? When you're young, you think you have all the time in the world, but you really don't. You have to know that this is the best time to get it. You can get stuff permanently to where, okay, if you get it young and you could pay for it to the point to where it's permanent, you don't have to pay for it as you get older, and it's so many different aspects to insurance.
Yeah.
It's just not a one-trick pony. I mean, you could use it to litigate risk. You could use it to conserve wealth. You can use it as a wealth building too. I mean, it's so right, exactly.
Yeah. Yes. So with that being said, one thing that I do know for sure that the statistics of death is we're all gonna leave here. So that is definitely going to happen. I don't know anybody that didn't die. Jesus died and he came back, but he did die. He did die. Yeah. So with that being said, Heinz, tell us a little bit about the different variables when it comes to insurance, because I know that there's term, there's whole life, there's different ones where you can have a savings, investment, universal life in there. What are the differences and what would you suggest? Give us a scenario of somebody who you would suggest, just those three most popular insurances.
Sure. Yeah, so obviously you're right, there's term, which is basically like renting insurance, right? That is the sense of you pay into it for 20 years or 30 years or 10 years, and at the end of it, if you do not pass away, that goes away. The premium goes away, and that's it. There's obviously your permanent life insurance, your whole life, which is what everybody thinks of when they think of insurance, where you pay into it monthly until you pass away, and then there's a death benefit. There's a payout. And then there's the universal life. Universal life has is a little bit closer to a permanent product, but they take that money and they invest into the market. There's other ways they play with it, and because they manipulate your money more, they use it more, you get a little bit less, you pay a little less into it. But even among that, there's lots of options, and that's where the consultancy part plays in, I think, when Charles was talking about, because there isn't one product that may fit all your needs, right? Maybe you take if you have young children, like I have a young child, so then I've got a term piece that covers when I have a mortgage, when I'm got to make sure she goes to college and takes care of that piece. And then I have a permanent insurance piece, maybe that I use for passing on money to my wife, or leaving something behind, or having that maybe donating a portion of that to the church and things like that. So it depends on what you need and where you are in life. And that's why I think it's super important that, sitting down, having, a 15, 20-minute conversation, figuring out, what you're worth, kind of what you're saying. Because you're not just worth the paycheck you bring in.
Right.
You're not that. Are you helping out at home? Maybe then that is a cost of childcare that needs to be brought in, right? All the other things that you do, those things all have a monetary value to it. So sitting down with somebody and figuring that out will give you an actual roadmap to what you need insurance product wise.
Yeah, that's good to know, because a lot of times people just say, okay, I'm just going to get $10,000. If I die, they can bury me. But if you're a husband and you have children, you need a little more, because when you leave, then your wife has the responsibility of taking care of the children, the mortgage, the car payment, like you said, Heinz, sending the kids to college and all of that stuff. So it's important to do that planning. You know what I'm saying? To upfront do that planning and see where you are at this age. And then I know once upon a time we had all three. We had a term, we had a whole life, and a universal. So my husband had the term, the whole life, and then I had the universal, and then it balanced itself out, because he's the breadwinner. So I'm just there enjoying the ride. So with me just being there enjoying the ride, if something was to happen to me, he would get a little something. But it had the savings and the investments.
My savings and investment is an amazing part. But don't sell yourself short, right? Because if something was to happen to you and you weren't able to watch the kids, now he has to pay money for someone to watch the children, right? That is very expensive. The cost of that is astronomical and gets up very quickly. So don't sell yourself short in the sense of saying, boy, I just sit at home, so my husband or my wife makes most of the money. That's why sitting down with a consultant, having someone take a look at what you do, where you are in life, what kind of, what bills do you have? What are your investment goals? What is your long-term strategy for the family? And then that is where you can take all the different individual pieces. Because at this point, between final expense, index universal life, guaranteed whole, like there's so many different products out there. There's literally a product for everyone.
That is so true.
There's so many different products, and as a broker, we deal with so many carriers. So it's so important for us to sit down and consult with you and see things that you might not even think about, right? Even with the auto piece, you might say, all I need is state coverage. Okay, well, if you hit a Bentley, what happens? I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Your kids.
I mean, you really gotta consult. You really gotta sit down. You really gotta talk and pretty much analyze your situation, because everybody's different. Sometimes when you are the breadwinner, you might buck up on term. You might bulk up on term, and then as you get older, you might diminish the term and put more into the whole life. Why? Because you have more expenses. And sometimes some of those policies are a little more expensive, depending on the dollar amounts and things like that. So, like I said, you might be thinking, hey, I only need $50,000. But when you equate the fact that you are the breadwinner, and that if something does happen, what happens if Johnny can't go to college, or if Sarah can't go to college, or or if you can't pay the home or anything like that, you might sit down and say, you know what, I need $1 million.
You maybe even two, okay?
Right.
Maybe
like
even two.
We're only and right now we're only talking about personal.
Right.
Personal
We haven't moved to business and all that stuff yet.
Because when you talk about entrepreneurs, you talk about small business where there's a partner. We talk about being a community leader. Maybe you're a pastor who does fundraising. Maybe you're in a nonprofit and you're the main fundraiser. Then you look at the insurance piece as the life insurance piece as a way to really keep that business going, right? I think definitely in the small business world, if you have multiple partners, do you want to have, if something was to happen to one of the business partners, do you want to do business with that spouse? Or do you want to have some kind of
Right.
with one of their spouses?
Right.
It's
Right.
true.
Absolutely.
Or do you want to have a life
Absolutely.
insurance piece that allows for you to automatically buy out the
Buy
other
it out.
person?
Buy out
Correct.
the other person.
So I think that's some of the things that even for business owners, it's important to sit down and talk about that life insurance.
All
Yeah,
of
or
it.
if you're the business.
With everybody,
You know
with
what I mean?
everybody.
If you are the
Yeah.
business, if something were to happen to you, I'm pretty sure Apple had a insurance policy on Steve Jobs. If something happened to him, I mean, God forbid it did,
Yeah.
So I mean, those are things. And then even if something happened on your street where they're doing construction and people can't get to your location, what's going to happen with all of the utilities and the bills and the leases that you have to pay, or your employees, because the business has shut down or what have you. So those are things that, with an insurance policy, sitting down, getting a consultation, you can cover. If you, because it's not just possessions.
It's so
a lot of
much
times
more.
we just think it's just assets. No, I mean, anything can happen. What if you have a lawsuit? Absolutely.
That's
I mean,
true.
it's
Right.
there's so many different aspects to it.
So with insurance, we want to talk about insurance for businesses. We talked about personal a little bit. We're going to get into some little life and a little homeowners insurance as well. But right now, give them your contact information for the viewing audience that wants to contact you in reference to sitting down and having a consultation with you. How can they contact you?
You can contact me by phone, which is 216-559-1123. You can contact me by email, which is charles@thepathfinderway.com. And so I would love to sit with you, love to talk to you, and see what we can do for you.
Awesome sauce, awesome sauce. So since most of our viewers are entrepreneurs, emerging entrepreneurs, and or community leaders, let's talk about what kind of insurance they need.
Oh, that's a great question. I think talking about I think liability is probably one of the main ones that people are going to look at, right?
Okay.
That's definitely a piece that people will look at because, especially if you're new in business, you're not sure what you're doing, a small liability policy would help you mitigate what they call all your lawsuits, right? Because on an insurance policy, they have what they call a duty to defend. Now, that doesn't equate to what they call the payout amount, right? Sometimes with these policies, they'd be like, I have a $1 million, $2 million policy, or I have a $500,000 policy. That is for the actual payout if there was a judgment against you. But if somebody was to sue you, there's a duty to defend that kicks in, and that is what will actually send the attorneys out to help mitigate the loss, right? What they're hoping, the insurance company is hoping they don't have to pay anything,
Right.
which would be the best case scenario.
Right.
So depending on what your business does and what kind of coverages you're looking for and getting those coverages, that's where we can step in and help you. Because a lot of people will sit there and be like, "Oh yeah, I have a dump truck company and we're just dumping out stuff." But we also do some other side business here. We do some hauling. We do this. We do that. And not having it classed correctly will get to a point where if there is a lawsuit against you, the insurance company will say, "Listen, this is not covered by us. Good luck." And you're on your own. To make sure that you're being classified correctly, that you have the right codes on that policy, that is what ensures that that insurance company will step in on your behalf and take care of you. And that's something that we pride ourselves on, is trying to make sure that you're covered, especially when you're young. When you're a small company and you kind of talk about being an entrepreneur, you're doing you're selling everything.
Right,
Selling Avon,
right,
to
yeah,
selling weed,
yes,
right? And
yes.
that's the case. You want to make sure all your class codes are on there.
Everything
and
is
that's
on there.
yes, exactly.
Right.
And everything is on there.
That's good to know. So when I had my own salon, we had coverage for the building. I had coverage for my employees. I had my hands covered for $1 million. So if
Yes.
anything was to happen to my hands, I could still get some kind of pay
Absolutely,
for that.
absolutely.
So explain a little bit more about the duty to defend.
So the duty to defend is the insurance. I don't want to say that's kind of our the main thing, but it's a very, very key aspect of a liability policy, and it's not one of those things that are readily noticeable on the policy itself, because everyone just looks at the numbers and just makes sure, oh, what is your completed aggregate, and what is your this, what is your that, what is your premises rented. That stuff is all great, and that tells you what the limit is, but the duty to defend has no limit.
Okay.
Which is why it's great. And having somebody sit down with you and explain that to you and go over exactly what your policy covers, exactly when your policy will kick in, that is key. Because I have seen guys who come in and they'll say, listen, I sell cell phones, and I do home inspections, and I do underwater basket weaving, and I have one policy and it covers it all. And normally I'm telling them, no, you do not. No, you do not have coverage for them all. You probably have coverage for one
the
item.
main thing.
Yeah.
Like with the scenario that you said with the dump truck. So if I'm the dump truck, that's my main business.
Yes.
But when I'm not dumping, I put a snow plow on the
Correct.
front of my
You
truck.
have no coverage
for
as a snow plow.
Okay.
That is
All right.
exactly
That's
correct.
Good. That's
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
That's good.
That's good to know.
It is.
People
It
need
is.
to know that.
And I think for
Absolutely.
entrepreneurs, you know, when you're smaller, even when you're bigger, there's an opportunity. I could do that. You say I could do that.
Get
I'll
that
do it.
money. Get the
Yes,
money.
exactly.
Get the money.
And that is where issues arise.
Not
you know,
turning them down.
Correct. You know, we had a lady who was a nurse and she was driving around. So then she, on the side, she was also she would also then bring medical supplies, you know, and drop it off at the nearby hospital. And when I talked to her, I was like, just so you know, you have no coverage for when you're delivering that, because your coverage written as it is right now is that you're driving yourself from a person's home to another person's home and you're taking care of that. The moment you start hauling medical equipment and you start bringing this and you start delivering it, it's an entirely different classification. Not only does it avoid your GL, your liability piece, it also avoids any of the auto parts of it.
Yeah.
Which is terrifying, right? And so I think having a good relationship, and this is one thing that I really love about Charles. Charles sits there and he talks to people. You know, he calls you up. Nothing to do. Sometimes he'll just call you up and just chat. That is an agent who wants to be involved in your life. When there's changes going on, you want a guy like that who's going to talk to you, who's been in contact with you. He knows that you've been planning this new endeavor. He knows that you've been working on this new project. So he can be like, well, listen, what is the coverage? What here are some coverages you need for that.
Yeah.
Where if you never talked to your agent, and the last time you talked to him was like in 1984, right? or 5 or 6 years ago or whatever. Think of how many things have been different maybe in your businesses
of
or in your
course.
church or whatever in the last 5 or
Yeah.
6 years. If you've not talked to your agent, then guess what? There's a bunch of coverages that are
missing.
They're being totally missed.
Yeah. So Pastor Charles, you're really good at that. You're personable. You're that guy. So that's an amazing thing to have a quality to be able to be an insurance broker. So now let's talk about car insurance.
You guys have cars, right? Everybody has cars.
So listen, everybody should be covered, right? And so it's so funny because I wasn't this responsible prior to me getting married.
Of course.
So I was just irresponsible. My wife got me together. Shout out to my wife.
So read
Smart.
I got married 17 years ago. Guess what I didn't have? Insurance. I didn't have insurance.
Tell the truth.
Ridiculous.
Tell the truth.
Ridiculous.
Yes.
I didn't have insurance, and I was just riding around. And you know, when you get together, you merge. And so it was so funny. It was just like, you know, my policy kept lapsing. She was like, well, just have it come out automatically out of your account. Of course. Yeah, I mean, so you don't have to write a check for it. Just let it come out automatically.
You don't think about it.
Because it's against the law not to have it. So I mean, it's ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
And it's so funny because as we got married, unfortunately, riding around and driving for work because I'm in outside sales, I've unfortunately been in a few accidents. Thank God I had insurance because they were my fault both times, right? And so it's important to make sure you're covered efficiently, right? We don't want to do the state minimums just because we want to do the state minimums.
Correct.
We want to do the state minimums if we can't afford, you know, insurance in its totality, right? You know, so so it's important for us to make sure we are covered adequately, right? Because what happens if that person's not insured? That you're in an accident with. No, those are things that you can get on your policy to where it'll cover the uninsured, right? You got to make sure that you get the most liability, right? That you can, because you never know what you're going to hit.
Absolutely.
I mean, you can hit a property, you can hit an expensive car, and it's so funny because I'm like, man, I have never seen so many high-end cars in my life. I mean, you see them all the time now. I mean, now 10 years ago, you might be like, no, I don't need 100,000. No, I don't need 200,000. Not right now. I mean, you got cars that are $500,000, so you got to make sure that you're adequately covered.
Car parts are also more expensive now.
Car parts are more expensive.
Because back in the day, cars maybe were built a little bit more sturdy, where now everything is plastic.
Yes.
And everything has got like 7 computers in it. So the moment you touch something, airbags are blowing up, things are all of a sudden, no, but it's true. Pieces are broken. Whole pieces are just being removed off cars, and then they just snap a new piece on. So back in the day, they might have been able to like kind of buff it out. I remember that saying, maybe like, that'll buff out.
Yeah.
Remember that? Like that. It doesn't buff out anymore.
It doesn't buff out.
Yeah,
you
it does
take
not.
The whole panel off.
Correct.
Now something you thought that was going to cost $75 is $7,500.
Correct.
Because you got to replace the whole thing. So it's just important to have that adequate coverage.
Yep.
And I believe to have full coverage, regardless if you have a loan or a lien or your car is paid in full. I think if you're driving, you should have full coverage.
That's good to know, because nowadays they have a lot of things that are available for people as it relates to car insurance. They have the safe drivers discount.
Absolutely.
They have the low mileage discount.
Right.
So when you're talking to your broker, which is Pastor Charles, and he finds out about how you drive and stuff, then he'll be able to recommend the best insurance for you.
Absolutely. I mean, it's so awesome the way we have everything set up, is because as a broker, you deal with multiple carriers, right? And so and what we do is we customize a package for you because of that. Knowing the different carriers, knowing exactly what you have on your driving record, knowing some insurances are a little more favorable for certain things as opposed to others. So I mean, it's important for us to have a consultation with you and to really, I mean, the best thing to do if you have it is to have your deck page, your declaration page, because it kind of tells a story, the kind of coverage you have, and then we could see the missing parts.
Yes.
If you know what, you don't have this, but you should have that.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because my agent prior, he said, you should have earthquake insurance on your homeowners.
In Ohio,
We had an earthquake. Right. I mean, this is.
You won't think about that in Ohio.
Right. You never thought about it, but it was just like, I don't know. It was like $5, right? I mean, so those are things that sitting down and talking to us. And
speaking on that, the coverage part, also, one of the things that that I automatically, whenever I do like quotes, and I add on kind of having roadside assistance or a rental car coverage, right? And if you don't like it, we can always remove it, and that's not a problem. But you're looking at additional maybe $20 a year on that. And then you get situations where I get a call and somebody says, "Oh my gosh, we're stuck on the side of the road. Our thing blew out and I don't know what to do." And I go, I just pull up their policy. You got it. No problem. I look like a hero. You love me. Everybody's happy.
Right.
So a lot of times I think, instead of going out there and looking for the most bottomest price possible, if I can come to you with an array of options, say, listen, this is apples to apples, what you currently have. And then here's what I think you should have. And I can save you money doing it. A lot of times, we find that our clients are very happy with that.
Of
they go,
course.
yeah, I appreciate that, So that's why when we say, like, having the 30-odd, insurance companies that we can work with, that gives us the option to really customize the coverage, get you more coverage a lot of times for a better price, right? Not that we just want to sit there and say we're going to save you money, because I think a lot of times having the best coverage possible is worth a few extra dollars, right? If you got kids, you don't want to sit on the side of the road waiting for someone to pick up a phone and hopefully come and get you. You want to know that your insurance company will send out somebody that's going to tow your car away. They'll pick you up, take you home. You know that you've got a rental car perhaps that you can get to work the next day. You don't have to worry about now do I have to Uber? Like, I'm older and I don't like to Uber because I can't figure it out. I'll be honest with you. So, Right. So, but it's nice to know that I can get a rental car so I can still get to work. I can still take my kids to school, to soccer practice, or whatever they got to do,
Right. And I mean, it gives you a peace of mind,
And that, I think, at the end of the day, is what insurance really is about, right?
Yeah.
It's about peace of
Having
mind.
a peace of mind. I mean, because now you're covered. Now everything is taken care of. I mean, because really, let's be honest, Insurance is something that we do, so just in case something happens.
Just in case.
You know, just in case something happens, as it relates to auto. I mean, you never plan on getting into an accident. You never plan on getting a blowout on your tire. You never plan on these things. But you want to prepare because guess what?
They happen. Those things happen. And it's funny that you would say that. Not too long ago, my husband was like, you know what? I'm thinking about looking at some other auto insurance. I'm not the best driver. So I've gotten several points on my...
that sounds like...
you do.
Your daughter in the face.
Okay. So then he was like,
the same.
let's look into some other insurances. I said, we just keep what we got. He was like, well, when the last time you had a ticket? I said, we just gonna keep what we got. Let's just keep what we got, okay?
And that's a really good point. Our consultations they're free. Right? There's no pressure. You can tell we're easygoing.
Yeah.
We want to help, and what we want to do is educate and help and be there for you and be a resource. So I think that calling us, there's no stress. We'll run your numbers for you, and if we could do a better job for you, and you want to switch, great. You don't want to switch, that's fine. It's okay because there are times where the previous person's insurance is better, or they're in a better situation keeping that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we don't, and I stay with them.
And it's no pressure. Like I always tell people, it's no pressure. Like if I could save you, or if I could give you a additional benefit that you didn't have before, it's not costing you anything. Why not do it?
Yeah.
Why not do it? I mean, it's almost like getting a physical. You go to the doctor, you do that for the simple fact that you want to make sure you can catch something before it happens. But I mean, hey, what if they tell you clean board of health? I mean, that's going to make you feel good. If I told you, you know what, you're adequately covered.
Yes.
I'm looking here and it doesn't look like I can beat it. That's going to make you feel good. That's going to make you sleep at night, right? And so it's no pressure. The only thing it could do is benefit you. To see a review.
That's good. So I have a question. So I have insurance. I've been dealing with my broker, but he's kind of MIA. So then I like the insurance side I have. So I want to come and have a consultation with you guys. What is that process like? Do you take over the current insurance that I have? Do you change everything around? Because I know with life insurance, if you stop it and you start it, it's a different fee. So what does that look like?
First of all, Pastor T, I want to say I really admire your knowledge of insurance. Right. I'm very honest with you.
We got to put her on the team.
Exactly. Hey, exactly. A lot of people we talk to, they're like, I can spell insurance. I know I've got auto insurance. What else is there?
Right, absolutely.
You know your products. You know what's going on, and that is rare. And I want to applaud you for that because that is
I don't want to take credit. I did my due diligence. I was talking to two insurance guys, so I read an insurance article. Okay, go ahead.
Well, more people need to read that insurance article because that's great.
Right, absolutely.
But I'm sorry. So we were talking about
if I wanted to switch over.
Yes, you wanted to switch over.
Yeah. So the good thing about having so many carriers is we've got about 30 some carriers on your home auto business stuff, and then we've got about over 50 carriers for life insurance, and then we've got health insurance as well, right? So because we have so many carriers, and you want to change it, you could always change the agent over to us. There's a good chance that we have it, right?
Okay,
things from like Nationwide, Progressive, Allstate. There's so many, travel, So we've got so many carriers that if you decided like I love everything I have, or some people say that I love Nationwide and I would never change from them, but I like you and I want you to be my agent. How can you do that? Yeah, we could definitely do that. There's an agent, a way that we could take over and be the agent on that account for you.
Yes, a form you fill out.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I always say, as part of our services, I still want to quote it. I still want to get a chance to quote it and see what else we can get out there. There's so many companies out there now. Every company, it's such a competitive market out there that if you're only going to one guy and you're only getting one quote, that you're doing yourself a disservice, right? And even if you don't want to change, even if you I just want to know, right? That peace of mind you're talking about. I just want to know that is so important to just know that you're getting the best coverage possible, or these are the coverages out there that you could get if you wanted it,
That's cool beans.
Yeah.
Cool beans. Anything you want to share on anything that we talked about before we go into health insurance?
Oh, no problem. So definitely on the life insurance piece we're talking about, on our website, thepathfinderway.com, we actually have an online portal where you can click on there yourself and apply. Yeah, you apply for a life insurance right then and there. You can enter your name. It's like creating like a online dating profile, basically. Name, interest. Literally. Yeah, how are you? You know, do you smoke? Don't you smoke? You enter what you're looking for, and then it'll give you real-time rates of all the products that we have. And then you can schedule your medical appointments right on there. Yeah, and then everything is taken care of. And then what it does is then it lets me know that you're interested. And then I can always reach out for you and hold your hand through it if you need more help. If you don't, and you feel like, listen, I'm tech savvy and I can do it. Seems like you guys are all tech savvy. You guys can do it yourself. Boom. I'll take care of it all. And you can apply for life insurance right then and there. 3:00 in the morning. You know, in your PJs, you can go ahead and take care of that. So that's something that we just added to our website that I'm pretty proud of.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Cool beans. Cool beans. I'm liking everything that you guys have, and that's something that people need to be knowledgeable of. And I was just playing. I do know a little bit, just because you have to go through the process when you have insurance, having, you know, the medical, the life, the homeowners, and all of that kind of stuff, and then owning a business and just needing to be knowledgeable about those things. And I love what you said about the auto insurance, knowing that, is it covered? We're a rent-a-car.
Yes.
Is it covered for uninsured motors if something was to happen?
Absolutely.
Are you covered if anybody licensed drives your car?
Right.
So that's something to think about when you're dealing with teenage kids that want to use your car. Long as you have your license, then if anything was to happen, you're covered.
Correct.
So it's just good to know all of those different points. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I had a client call me recently, and he is a classic car enthusiast, and he has about 50 gorgeous kind of restored classic cars, and he let a buddy of his take one of these cars out for a spin, and when you know, at first corner he took, slid out and wrecked this car and he immediately calls me up, and he's freaking out. Oh my gosh, where's my coverage at? What does it look like? What do I have? This guy, I don't know if he has, where's his insurance at? What is going on? And I'm like, don't worry, you're good. And just me saying that, you could hear the relief in his voice. Right then and there, he knows he can call you and get that information, right? And that's something that I also want to touch on, is that, like, you know, when Charles is giving you this number, this 216-559-1123 number, that is his number. You call him, you get him, right? You're not getting like you're not getting a service. You're not then getting somebody who's like, oh, I'm gonna put you on hold for 25 minutes. You have a problem, you call Charles, you call me. We're able to kind of help you out right then and there. At least we could pull up your policy. You know, you get a human being who's going to talk to you and kind of hold your hand through it. Because when there is an issue, what you don't want to do is wait on hold.
Oh no.
Yeah.
No.
When there's a problem, what you want is to get somebody that you know, somebody who you've dealt with, and somebody who can be there to help you. And I think that's why, like, I think Charles does such a great job, because he's so personable. He's there. He picks up that phone. He's talking to you.
Yeah.
You know, and I think him being a pastor as well, and he just has like a way of calming situations down.
Yeah, I it's so funny because people used to say that at my job. It's like, you're calm in every situation. I'm like, because it's never that deep. I mean, we're gonna figure something out. We're gonna figure it out. I mean, you're not the only person out of 7 billion people that this has happened to. I mean, I'm pretty sure we'll get it going. We'll figure it out. You know, and again, I mean, Hines as well. I mean, just real personable, and makes the process sometimes you might feel a little uneasy about. We just try to take the uneasiness out of it and make it smooth.
That's amazing, because the Bible says that we need to count the costs. We need to count the cost of everything that we're doing. So if you're going to make this jump into business, you need to count the cost and include in that count an insurance. All right. So now let's talk about health insurance a little bit, Pastor Charles.
Health insurance. So we do offer health insurance as well. You know, I know a lot of times when I of course it's not too long ago being in corporate, a lot of people would have a job as well as have, you know, their business.
Yeah,
you know,
I call them parallelpreneurs.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, parallelpreneurs.
That's a good name.
I am.
You know, and the reason being is because their mindset is, I want to keep this job because of the benefits. You know, but what's kind of cool is there's benefits outside of your job, right? So there's health benefits, and it's the same premises of all insurances is sharing risk, right? And you're sharing risk with groups, and you can get favorable payment options as well. So we do offer health insurance. So if you have business, if you're a business owner, you're an entrepreneur, and you have employees, and you wanted to offer something like that, we will be able to assist you.
Correct. Yeah, we can help you kind of set up a small business plan that would then, you know, look at the options that we could provide based on what you're willing to contribute, or the age and the population that you have as for your employees. We can also come in and you know, just help them with individualized personal health insurance as well. So, you know, obviously the ACA, the portal, our time has kind of come to an end on that 11/15 to 12/15 kind of a window for open enrollment has closed. But you know, there's short term, there's a bunch of other products in between that'll get you to the next open enrollment. So even if you're just interested in like looking at, hey, what would be a short term insurance piece, health insurance piece for myself, you know, we've got options for you. We can take a look at, depending on where you are, obviously, because it depends on the hospital networks out there. We can take a look at what's available for you and get you some pricing on that. And go from there. So that's relatively quick and painless.
Awesome. So with the insurance for the health, we can talking about medical, we're talking about dental, we're talking about vision and prescriptions.
Yes, absolutely.
So
prescriptions.
You can get individual those four,
absolutely,
or you can get it all packaged from one
together.
company.
Yeah.
Okay, when you talked about the open enrollment, explain that a little more to the viewing audience. Everybody don't know what that means.
So in order to get onto the Affordable Care Act, which the Obamacare, there is a window, and obviously the current administration is playing with that a little bit. So that's a little bit in flux, but this past year's was from November 15 to December 15. There's a 1 month window where you can put in your application, and you'll get kind of the full gamut of products that are out there for your area. And when you are outside of that window, you have to get what they call a short-term health insurance. Short-term health insurance is not as robust. It doesn't cover some of the stuff that automatically comes with kind of like an ACA plan, where there isn't. They don't cover like a wellness visit. You don't get like an automatic wellness visit. A lot of prenatal care stuff like that sometimes is not covered as well. So you know, obviously we do a huge push up to that open enrollment period. Please take a look at it. Let's get that taken care of. But you know, it happens. You're busy. Things occur. There are products that'll get you from now until next November 15th. Especially if you've got kids who are going to college. I know a lot of colleges now require you to have health insurance in order to get there. So you know, that's one of those things that easily we can purchase a short-term piece and make sure that your kid is covered and gets into college, things like that, and without any issues. But yeah, there are ways. There's ways for everything. That's what we're saying. And knowing the right consultants is what allows for us to make sure that we could take care of you and get you taken care of. You know, peace of mind.
Yeah, so medical insurance is very important. So like we talked about before, I'm a parallelpreneur. So a parallelpreneur is somebody who has entrepreneur aspirations, but they also have a job that brings in a steady paycheck and brings in benefits. So whatever kind of entrepreneur you want to be, that's fine. You define success for yourself.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So with you defining success for yourself, you have to find out what's best for you.
Right.
But no matter who you are, you do need insurance. So insurance is important for everybody. So as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, as a working in corporate, you can opt in or opt out for the insurance, right? Because some people don't want to opt in because of the money that it costs. But the risks totally outweigh the funds. So it's important to be covered in every aspect of your life, if at all possible. Even if you just get the minimum, we all need to be covered in some kind of way. So whether we're going to look at homeowners insurance, auto insurance, business insurance, life insurance, and health insurance, Pastor Charles is your guy. So give us your information again.
You could contact me via email, and it's Charles at Charles at the Pathfinder Way. And then my phone number directly 216-559-1123.
All right, cool beans. So Charles, give us some closing remarks before we end this show. Thank you so much.
Closing remarks. It's important for us to have a peace of mind. I would say that, and that's what we try to give you. Rather it be in the areas of your business, rather it be your home, rather it be personal. We're there for you. And I would say we're there in the best of times, and we're also there in the worst of times. And so we would be able to guide you through that. And so again, contact us, Charles at the Pathfinder Way. You can contact me by phone as well, 216-559-1123.
Cool beans. Hines, give us some closing remarks about insurance or
absolutely.
anything that's on your mind.
There's so many new things out there. I don't want to say there's so many new risks out there, right? For everything from cyberbullying to cyber attacks on, if you're a small business owner and you're holding your employees' information, or you're a community leader and maybe you have some banking info for people who follow you. There's so many things out there, active shooters, right? Terrorism. There's so many new risks out there, and as a business owner, really, I think it's part of your job to make sure that you're up on that. Do I need to be insured for that? Is that a risk for me? And that, I think, is something that to really get peace of mind, you have to know that, oh yeah, we're good on that. We're covered there. So I guess my closing remarks is just that, nothing is better than just giving us a call. It's free, and we could really come in and say, hey, this is a problem. This might be something you need covered, or this is not covered, or you're doing great, right? Even that, like Charles was saying, just getting someone to say, you're doing great.
Right.
You're not doing anything wrong,
Right.
right? And go from there. I think you'd sleep better at night. So that's really it. Just give us a shot to kind of take a look at it for you. If you have any questions, even if you have a basic question, give us a call. We would love to just answer that for you and help you out. Even if we don't know the answer, we've got lots of, we've got a network of other providers that we can talk to and get that answer for you.
That's good to know. But you opened up a door real quick, so I need to go down there. You talked about cyberbullying, and one thing that we didn't talk about was identity theft.
Oh, yes.
So could both of y'all touch bases on that? We still got about 6 more minutes.
Oh, no. No problem.
Let's talk about the identity theft first, and then you talk about the cyberbullying.
Absolutely.
Well, that's real.
It's real.
Identity theft is real. All of these things are real monsters. Cyber attacks and things like that. It's something that can happen. And it's one of those things that you want to make sure that you're covered in certain areas. So again,
not every policy covers it.
Every policy doesn't cover it, and not every carrier covers it. So you might be limited just going to that one particular carrier. So it's so important to just kind of in your line of business, your line of business. I know we talked about churches and things like that. We need to look at some church policies to make sure that if something were to happen, if you guys do a missions trip or whatever the case may be, or maybe you have a trusted advisor that just so happen shouldn't be trusted, and they allocate funds from the accounts and things like that. So those are things that you want to make sure that you're covered in totality.
That's a great follow up too, because let's say somebody at your church or your organization does something wrong with that money, and you are on there as a director or officer or a volunteer, or you're associated with the church at all. Not only are you personally liable for the funds, they can come after your personal assets. So by volunteering at a church, or by being an elder at a temple, or whatever you're doing, you are literally saying that, like, your car could get taken away from you, your home could get taken away from you. So knowing that, having a D&O in place above and beyond that, so these insurance products are stacked on top of each other. Not only looking at the identity theft, now you're also looking at the D&O. Now you're looking at the liability piece and stuff like that.
So what's D&O?
D&O is a directors and officers piece. And if you serve, anybody serves, if this is the only takeaway, take this away. If you serve on any kind of board, if you're an elder at any church, if you sit on any kind of nonprofit, if you sit on any kind of board, volunteer for any event, first thing you should ask them is, do you have a D&O policy? And am I on that policy? Because they might have a policy, but if you're not listed on it, sorry.
Yeah, and then that's the key man insurance too for some people. That
Absolutely.
it's like if you're the key man, if something happens to you, and
Yep.
then everything
Yep.
won't die.
Yeah.
Well, it's just so much that we could
a lot.
talk about.
Keep going.
I am
It's a
just,
lot.
I
Yeah,
hope you
absolutely.
guys learned something
Yeah.
today. I know I totally learned something today, and we really appreciate you guys for tuning in to the show. Thank you so much, Hines.
Thank
I
you so
appreciate
much,
you for
Pastor
coming
T.
out. Thank you so much, Pastor Charles.
I appreciate you.
Awesome,
Thank you so
awesome
much.
information. I love you to
Appreciate you.
pieces. Love you to
Right
pieces.
back at you.
And thank you guys for tuning in. Like I said, I hope you guys learned something. This is CNE, Christian Networking Entrepreneurs, where we showcase emerging entrepreneurs, small businesses, and community leaders. We have a quarterly networking event every March, June, September, and December. If you're interested in being a part of our board or hosting a networking event or even being a guest on the show, give us a call. You can email us at info@mynewbeginning.org. That's info@mynewbeginning.org. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Remember, if you don't network, you don't work. Pastor T saying bye for now. Thank you guys again. Yeah, this is